In this episode, protein kills. Specifically, the idea that we need to consume animal protein in high quantities is a bit like a social virus that is responsible for killing more people than anything else.
High protein.
Within an hour of getting up, you need to have some source of protein.
Protein is one of the most sought-after nutrients.
Protein. 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 Protein.
Protein.
The Western world is obsessed with animal protein, and it's killing us. Here's the CDC data on what actually kills the most people. It's heart disease. Here's what it looks like state by state, and here are the worldwide causes of death. Heart disease is number 1, and stroke, which is a cardiovascular disease also caused by animal products, is number 2. So what started this protein fetish? It seems that inaccurately high and dangerous protein recommendations, combined with humans' natural desire to eat calorically dense foods, led to a cultural obsession with animal protein. With consumption of animal products rising, people ate more cholesterol and therefore got more cardiovascular diseases such as heart disease, stroke, and, as I'll explain in a bit, Alzheimer's disease. If you total that up, that's 828,000 deaths per year, which just towers above any other cause or disease. And I'm about to explain why heart disease and animal protein have such an intimate link. But first, a little bit of history. It started in the 1800s with Carl Voigt, who, after studying Western populations, the populations that eat the most animal protein, he decided that we need about 118 grams of protein. This being completely unfounded was disproven by Henry Chittenden in the early 1900s after he ate 1/3 as much protein and cured all of his ailments. He then showed that Yale athletes can increase their performance by 35% by eating about half as much as Voigt recommended. And today, we think that a man needs about 55 grams of protein per day and a woman needs about 45 grams per day. The problem is we're still eating how much Voigt recommended at around 100 grams per day. Now to get into why specifically animal protein kills people. It all comes down to the baggage that comes with animal protein. Most dangerously, cholesterol. Cholesterol-related diseases kill more people than anything, and cholesterol is only present in these high-protein animal foods. For the average person that consumes meat and other animal products, their cholesterol is about 210. If you look at vegetarians, it's 161, and if you look at vegans who eat no animal products at all, it's only 133. Here's an expert on the subject, Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, explaining how heart disease and heart attacks actually happen.
All right, how do those 90% of heart attacks occur? Is that when you start eating that cheeseburger, the pizza, the milkshake, your blood flow gets sticky. Your LDL cholesterol gets sticky. And then the LDL bad cholesterol migrates into the subendothelial space. It's as thin as a cobweb. And then the sheer force of blood going over that thinned out plaque ruptures. And now we hit the beginning of a clot, a thrombosis, which is in and of itself self-propagating. So in a matter of minutes, now we have an artery that is totally blocked, and all the downstream heart muscle has been deprived of oxygen and nutrients, starts to die. And that's the heart attack.
Now for some studies. Here's one showing that a lower level of meat consumption is associated with a lower level of cholesterol, which leads to a lower level of heart disease. Here's another one that was published in the American Journal of Epidemiology following 29,000 women. They found that those who ate the most meat were at the greatest risk for heart disease. They even found that the people who ate the most meat compared to the people that ate the least meat had a 44% increased chance of dying of heart disease. Also, for dairy, a 41% increased chance of dying of heart disease. Here's a video showing Dr. Michael Greger explain why Alzheimer's is actually a cardiovascular disease that is a result of consuming animal products with cholesterol.
And we typically think of artery clogging in the heart. Atherosclerosis involves virtually the entire human organism, our whole vascular tree from top to bottom, including our brain. One can think of Alzheimer's as a mind attack. We now have a substantial body of evidence strongly associating atherosclerotic vascular disease with Alzheimer's. This is what cerebral arteries should look like: open, clean, allowing blood to flow. This is what atherosclerosis in our brain arteries looks like.
It's important to note that these high-protein animal products have no fiber at all. If it's an animal, it doesn't have fiber. It has to be a plant. Here's a study showing that a 10-gram-a-day increase in dietary fiber was associated with a 27% lower risk of coronary mortality, of dying of a heart attack. So if you're not supposed to eat these high-protein animal products, then what should you eat? Here's Caldwell again talking about a plant-based diet and what it can do for heart disease.
Joe was having a heart attack. Whipped down to the cath lab. Start the catheterization, cardiac arrest, resuscitate. What they identified was that his left anterior descending coronary artery in the front of the heart, the entire lower third was moth-eaten and diseased. My wife Ann and I had him out to the house with his wife for supper 2 weeks after his heart attack. Joe, you've been eating this typical Western diet. You got the typical Western disease. We've got 10 years of data. How about going plant-based? He became the absolute personification of commitment to plant-based nutrition. Joe, I understand you had the old follow-up angiogram this morning. Mind sharing with me how did it go? Got up around his desk, put his arms around me. I think we're doing okay. Well, any chance I could see the follow-up angiogram? Yeah. So it was really quite striking and exciting.
Well, that was just one guy. Here's the Lion Diet Heart Study showing that if you eat a more plant-centered diet, you can reduce your chance of dying of a heart attack by 70%. Here's the Lifestyle Heart Trial showing that after 5 years on a plant-based diet, your artery health can improve by 8%, while a control group eating a normal diet's arteries will get worse by about 27%. So you may be wondering, can I actually get enough protein eating a plant-based diet? Well, if we look at how much protein is in human breast milk, which is the point where we grow the fastest in our lives, we triple in size in 6 months. Human breast milk is about 5 or 6% protein, which is a very low protein compared to what our recommendations are today. You may be wondering about a protein deficiency. The thing is, a protein deficiency is starvation, and we only have about 100 people a year die in the US from starvation. You may also be wondering if plant foods can give you a complete protein profile with all the amino acids. The answer is absolutely yes. Here's a study showing, quote, a well-balanced plant-based diet will provide adequate amounts of amino acids and prevent protein deficiency. Do we have any proof of populations eating a low protein, low animal product diet? Yes, in fact we do. The Okinawans, who have some of the highest levels of people over 100, as well as the lowest levels of all of our leading diseases. They only eat the equivalent to half an egg of all animal products per day, 0.6 ounces of animal products per day. If you look at what the Okinawan people traditionally eat, you'll see that they ate about 9% of their calories from protein. Yet today, modern recommendations, like at the Mayo Clinic, for example, they say up to 35% of our calories from protein, which is way too high. In conclusion, update and change your paradigm. The chances of you dying from a protein deficiency are essentially non-existent and far outweighed by the dangers that you will statistically die because of the belief that you need to eat a large quantity of animal protein, or animal protein at all for that matter. Finally, shift your taste buds to eat more plant foods so that you don't die of a heart attack like everybody else, and probably a lot of people in your family history, and pretty much everybody you know. Thank you.
Each of the past 15 months have all set records as the hottest ever.
Temperatures last month shattered all previous records.
Extreme heat is fueling a dangerous situation out west.
Flooding has left nearly 70,000 people without dead or missing.
Huge rescue and relief operation is underway in China.
Hurricane Matthew slammed into Haiti on Tuesday.
We are, all of you know it, on the edge of a climatic abyss.
Locations around the globe saw extreme heat, including one record in Kuwait of 129.
Open the window.
There's people in the water.
Oh my God!
Oh my God! No.
The primary driving force behind species extinction, behind water and air pollution, is this system of animal agriculture.
Animal agriculture.
Animal agriculture.
Animal agriculture.
Animal agriculture.
Studies show climate change and water shortages are directly linked to the amount of meat we consume.
We will not succeed until we stop animal agriculture.
Heart disease, prostate cancer, colon cancer, breast cancer, rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis. I knew at that point what caused most diseases.
Animal products.
Animal-based proteins.
Animal protein.
People that increase their consumption of plant-based foods, decrease their consumption of animal foods, actually have a survival advantage, actually live years longer than those that don't.
In the European Union alone, over half of its budget is used to subsidize livestock production.
Across Europe, 80% of direct payments go to just 20% of farmers.
When you really look at who's lobbied for this system of agriculture, it's the largest meat producers. They dictate the federal policies around producing food because they have so much power.
Government gives $30 billion to underwrite cheap meat, and they give no money to the vegetable industry.
Recent scientific research has discovered that farm animals are far from stupid. The nearest most of us come is in the supermarket, but do we know how intelligent and sensitive they are, and how the decisions we make every day directly affect their lives?
Well, tens of millions of Americans have switched their diet from meat-centered meals to ones rich in vegetables, grains, beans, and other plant-based foods. Not only is it a healthy lifestyle change, but it's also helping change our environmental footprint.
The number one thing that you can do is to just stop eating meat.
Where's the justification for this? This is why vegans get so militant, because I don't want to be a two-legged devil to the animals or to anybody. No injustice can live forever. Sadly, injustice can live for hundreds or even thousands of years, but no lie can last forever, and people are becoming aware change is slow. It took 400 years to convince white people in America not to own blacks. You can see why this is taking so long. I speak against speciesism in the same way Nelson Mandela spoke against racism. We live on a planet that murders animals, a speciesistic planet. Understand, like a racist who thinks that their race is better than another race, speciesists think that the human species is superior to animals, and we have the right to harm and kill any species we choose. Where do humans get off owning and controlling living beings? Do you know that if you took humans off this planet, the extinction of humans would benefit everything that exists, the animals, the forest, the air, the water, the mountains? If the bees disappear, everything falls apart. This is how special and valuable bees are to the world. The issue is we just need to change the way we view animals. We have to realize humans aren't the only beings on this planet, and we're not more important than animals. Because this is the first form of the hatred humans are taught. Racism, sexism, anti-Semitism, heterosexism, these are branches of hatred. The root is speciesism. When you're a kid growing up, you're taught, hey, be nice to the dog, be nice to the cat. But that cow, that chicken, yeah, he doesn't count. Just kill them, screw them. Be nice to the horse. Be upset when somebody poaches a rhino. Be upset if somebody cuts the fins off of a shark. Hey, but that turkey, kill him. It's Thanksgiving, it's a holiday. So the kid is confused growing up. So when we get down to talking about discrimination and why it's wrong, where it comes from, it all stems from that somebody looks and acts differently than you. If you taught a child growing up that, hey, just because that chicken looks differently than you do, that chicken has every right to live. That spider has every right to live, just like you do. How is that child going to grow up and look at a different person who's a different size, shape, and color? How is that kid going to look at that person in hatred, with violence? Speciesism, by eradicating that, we can bring peace to this planet. You said my steak, I'm very big on language. That steak was never yours. Okay, that steak is a euphemism, by the way. That's cow flesh. That flesh belonged to another living being. So we always want to say leather when it's cow skin. Even the terms bacon. What's bacon? You mean pig flesh? 75% of the animals on this planet are herbivores.
Of course.
But why do we try to justify human behavior based on lion behavior or shark behavior? Notice you have clothes on. And I notice that you have a cell phone and you have a computer. It is unfair to pick one thing that lions do that you want to mimic when you don't want to mimic anything else they do. You notice that convenient argument? We just want to do what the lions do when they eat antelope. You put a 2-year-old child in a crib with a bunny rabbit and an apple. Let me know when the child eats the bunny rabbit and plays with the apple. We are purely herbivorous. We have no carnivorous or omnivorous instincts whatsoever. It's an unfair comparison. You're not a lion, and just so you know, lions are carnivores. Humans are not. We are herbivores 100% up and down physiologically. If your jaw moves from side to side in a grinding motion and you chew, you're 100% herbivore. If you were a meat eater like a lion, your jaw would only go like this, up and down, rip and swallow. If you sweat through your pores to cool yourself, you're herbivore. See, the problem that I have is when people lie about why they harm animals, that animals don't think, that they can't feel, that they're not smart, that I need my protein, that we can do it in a humane way. See, we can't throw this word humane out there when we're talking about rape, torture, and murder. You can't put the word humane next to it. So if I go and meet a woman at a bar, I buy her some drinks, I bring her some flowers, I take her back and put on some soft music, some Teddy Pendergrass, and we dance and we look in each other's eyes, and I slip her a date rape drug and rape her. Is that humane? Why not? She didn't feel a thing. See, because the act of rape is evil, okay? The act of murder is evil. You can't do it in a nice way. Okay, we have to stop thinking that there's a nice way. In fact, you know what the nice way to kill is? Not to kill.
That's a nice way.
I noticed that religious people love to worship things that we created in God's name. The Bible, the Quran, Stars of David, the cross, but nobody worships anything that God created. It's the water, pollute it, the air, pollute it. The forest, cut it down. Anything that God made, we destroy. Anything that we made in God's name, we worship. So my condemnation isn't about God, it's about what religious people do in God's name. Over the years, as I've talked to tens of thousands of people, I've noticed that people who have been oppressed, Jews, Hispanics, women, blacks, they always respond better to this revolution that I'm involved in because they understand oppression. They've been through it. They know what it's like to be treated like nothing, like their lives don't matter. People who have been harmed understand why it's wrong to harm somebody else. So I want to eradicate the lies and get down to the issues at hand. I'll show you hospitals full of people with heart disease, cancers, diabetes, osteoporosis, kidney problems, etc., all stemming from animal protein, the main cause of every major disease on this planet. Now, here's what I love about the health benefits of veganism. When you're being altruistic, you should never expect anything in return.
Right.
When you're vegan, you get a lot of great things in return. Your health, you're good to the earth. Because let's face it, the worst form of environmental destruction is animal agriculture.
That's right.
So there's some great benefits and kickbacks, but without a clear conscience, without mental health, we can't have physical health. So if you're going to focus on the physical health aspects and miss this aspect, you're still not right. I think when you put violence in, you get violence out. You consume discrimination and death, you're going to, exude the same horrible things. What's wrong with somebody choosing to be compassionate, choosing to be good to the environment, so children don't have to starve to death around the world while we're feeding 50% of the world's crops to 60 billion land animals in the meat, dairy, and egg industries? And find peace on this planet by eradicating speciesism. You can start, giving compassion to the animal kingdom, to the insect kingdom. Then you start living peacefully with the planet and with each other. And peace begins at the dinner table. Because we claim to be moral beings. We claim to know right from wrong. We claim to be compassionate. And as long as humans make these claims, I'm going to be in everyone's face and say, you can't do it halfway. The path to peace is through veganism. So it's logical to want to be vegan, to want to reduce and eliminate pain and suffering. Once I point it out to people, most people, sane people, logical people, make that next step. It's thrilling to know that people are paying attention and making massive change. And as we go back in time and look at all the other people that we adore now, collectively, we all agree, Gandhi and Dr. Martin Luther King and all these people, Rosa Parks and Cesar Chavez, you know, they were not loved during their time. They were despised. They wanted to make change, massive change. It's only later on that a society looks back at revolutionary activists and says, oh, man, he was great. He was just trying to bring peace and justice. This stuff has to stop.
What would be God's ideal? Like, what is the ideal? What did God intend for creation?
Genesis 1:29 is part of the first conversation between God and human beings.
And in fact, if you actually read what Genesis says, God told Adam and Eve to be vegans.
He said, I have given you every herb bearing seed and every fruit that has seed in it. To you it shall be for meat.
And it's the first time in the creation story that God describes creation as very good, tov ma'od. Up until that point, God just says, it's good, it's good, it's good. But when we get the instructions to eat a plant-based diet, now creation is very good.
You know, our body is the temple of the Lord, the temple of the Holy Spirit, the Bible tells us. And we treat our bodies like dumpsters, right? You don't put trash in a temple.
And when I see people who call themselves Christians eating fried chicken and pork chops and all this stuff that they know and that's going to destroy their health simply because it tastes good, then I have to ask, do you love the pleasure of eating this unhealthy food more than you love God?
The book of Psalms teaches that the world is built through kindness. We bring heaven down to earth by perpetuating kindness. In every interaction, in every act of food consumption, in every choice we make, we have the opportunity to elevate the sparks of holiness in whatever we encounter.